Today's lesson, Always Believe, a story about the 12 Spies. If you are a big kid, you can find your story in the International Children's Bible, in the book of Numbers, chapter 13 and 14. If you are a little kid, you can find your story in the New Beginner's Bible, page 124, the 12 Spies. Let's go, kids. Hello kids, you guessed it, I am still super duper excited to bring the lesson to you today. Alright, I want to thank you for tuning in to Kids Vibe, where there is victory in believing every single day. Kids Vibe is powered by I Encounter Church. Alright kids, today's lesson again is Always Believe, a story about the 12 spies. All right. This week's lesson proves once again that God is the ultimate promise keeper. Think back to the story of Abraham and the promise God made to him. God told Abraham that he would have many descendants. Abraham was a little unsure about this because he and his wife were old and they hadn't had any children yet. But God blessed them with a son, and his name was Isaac. Isaac grew up to have a wife, and her name was Rebekah, and they had two sons, Jacob and Esau. Jacob went on to have 12 sons, and his sons had sons, and their sons had sons, and so on and so on. Abraham's descendants continued to grow in great numbers, and God's promise to Abraham was kept. Well, today's lesson begins with God leading the descendants of Abraham very close to Canaan, the promised land. But before they could enter the land, God told Moses to send men to spy on the land. He told Moses to send one man from each tribe, so 12 men, each from the 12 tribes of Jacob. Remember, Jacob had 12 sons, were sent to find out about the land and the people. Moses told the men to find out how the people lived, what the land was like, and if the people were strong or weak. He even asked them to bring back some of the ripe fruit they found. The spies went into the land and found that the land was good. The grapes were so huge it took 2 men to carry them. They also found people who were big and tall, and they were afraid of them. The spies stayed in Canaan for 40 days, and when they returned to the camp, they showed Moses the good fruit they found in the land. But 10 of the spies talked about the giant people in the land, and they spoke of the large cities with the high walls around them. They were afraid of what they had seen. And they said the people were big and much stronger than they were. So they told Moses they shouldn't go. They said, "We can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are. The land would eat us up. All the people we saw are very tall. We felt like grasshoppers, and we look like grasshoppers to them." But 2 of the men, Joshua and Caleb, were all in. Joshua said, "We should go up and take the land for ourselves. We can do it." Yes, he believed in God's protection. Hallelujah. But the people only listened to what the first 10 spies said, so they didn't want to go to Canaan. The people hung on the negative report of the 10 spies and lost confidence in God. After all God had done for them to lead them out of Egypt, they still didn't trust him. So kids, raise your hand if you ever had any doubt that God would pull you through something. Raise your hand if you grumbled and chose not to use your superhero faith. Sometimes when we start to doubt God, we make wrong choices, like the Israelites did. Their doubt of God's promises to them made some of them say they wanted to go back to Egypt. Really? Weren't they in bondage there for over 400 years? The others wanted to stone Moses and Aaron. You know what stoning means? Well, that means they wanted to throw rocks at them over and over and over again. Bad choices, kids. Bad choices. And God was displeased with these bad choices, and he was displeased with their disobedience. So even though they were close to the promised land, God punished them. He said the people would not enter Canaan. They would have to wander in the desert for 40 years. For each day, the 12 spies were in the promised land. But Joshua and Caleb never stopped believing in God. In fact, at God's appointed time, after the 40 years of wandering in the desert, Joshua and Caleb were allowed to enter the promised land. So what's the faith in this story, kids? Well, Joshua and Caleb never lost their confidence in God. They told the people, don't turn against the Lord. Don't be afraid of the people in that land. We will chew them up. They have no protection, but we have the Lord, so don't be afraid of them. But we have the Lord. Don't be afraid. This is what Joshua and Caleb told the people, and this is what we should tell ourselves when we feel like grumbling, or we feel doubt instead of trust in God's promises to us. You know why? Because we have the Lord, kids, and we don't need to be afraid. We are conquerors. And because faith is our superpower, all we need to do is believe. We can't see him, we can't feel him, we can't touch him, but kids, I promise you, God is always there. We always have the Lord, kids. We always have the Lord. And that's the faith in this story. Hello, kids. Was that not an amazing lesson? Yes. When we're feeling doubt or we're feeling like God isn't there, remember what Joshua and Caleb said. We can do it. We have the Lord. Yes, kids, we are conquerors. You are conquerors because of your superhero faith. All right. Thank you for joining Dr. Iris this week. I'm super excited. I stay excited. All right. Thank you to I Am Canaan for powering this amazing lesson. All right, kids, I have 2 things to tell you. You are awesome because God made you that way. And the second thing is faith is your superpower. Walk it out. All right, kids.